Our special guest for the Rickwood Classic is Dwight Gooden, known in baseball, of course, as Doc. So very simply and very basically, what's Doc Gooden currently doing?
Staying busy. First of all, it's good to be on your show. It's obviously good to be here at the ballpark for the celebration tomorrow as well. Right now, I'm a spokesperson for pinktide.org. That's for breast cancer, as well as networking with other charities and foundations helping those in need. I also coach my 9-year-olds baseball and football team back in New Jersey and Edgewater. I just was fortunate enough to have 2 of my boys graduate from high school down in Florida. One's basketball, one's baseball. The baseball players got a full ride. The University of South Florida, my other son is going to be a walk-on, so hopefully that goes well. I do work with Yankees and Mets, more on the corporate side, and that's pretty much what keeps me busy now.
So you're Coach Gooden, your dad Gooden, and you're also working to put food on the table. So there are more plates spinning than probably when you were just playing baseball and enjoying yourself. So what's it like, the afterlife of baseball?
It's fun. It definitely brings challenges. I have 7 kids from ages 4 to 28, so it's never a dull moment around, as well as 3 grandkids. And also for myself, I'm obviously in recovery. March 11th made 3 years. So for my sobriety, a lot of that is going around speaking in high schools, speaking in colleges as well. I enjoy sharing my story with those guys and let them know it's a better way of living. And just being a father, like you said, it's probably more work now, but it's also more enjoyable because as a player, you're traveling all the time, you're away from the kids, so you miss a lot of the school activities, you miss a lot of the little league games. Now it's all about the kids and giving back. I get asked a lot, once you coach, I tried that when I retired with the Yankees, but that's not my true passion. My passion is working with the kids, but now my passion is being in my kids' life.
Dwight Gooden, our guest here, Doc, you mentioned that you were recovering, and I don't want to make this the major focus of our interview, but I do want to talk about it. I want to give you a little bit of a forum. If you Google, and now in the world of social media, we can find out everything we want about you, good things and bad things, and obviously there are some transgressions, we'll call that, some mistakes that you made along the way. Yes. Can you either expand, elaborate, or maybe just as importantly, talk about that now and help educate and help somebody out there, a young adult, to make sure that they don't go down that path and they keep themselves straight? How do you expand on that message?
I think the best thing to do, and take a step back, one of my biggest downfall was not knowing that I had a problem.
Right.
All the signs was there, not being a man enough to speak to somebody about my problem, someone you're comfortable with. So I would say to the younger generations, if something going on in your life, if you're struggling with whether it's drugs, alcohol, or anything that's going on, have someone you feel comfortable with talking to, whether it's a parent, whether it's a neighbor, it could be a school teacher, the principal, your guidance counselor, whoever. Because if that stuff fester in and built up, it's going to be disaster. It's going to be problems. One of my big things was asking for help, and then once I realized that I did have a problem, accepting the problem and doing whatever I can to treat the problem and continue to treat it. It's a lifelong battle. It's not something you do where you go to rehab and you're cured in 30 days. It's a lifetime thing you have to do, making life changes. And also with the younger generation, I would say hang around positive people, hang around people that have the same goals you have, and don't cheat yourself with life. Life is very precious. Life is a gift, and you have to make the most of it.
Now let's take the clock back to the Magic in the mid-'80s. I grew up there. I was there at the time. 84, 85, 86, 87, 88. The Mets were on the verge of a dynasty. You were so young. You were 19 years old when you first got there. Your second year, you won the Triple Crown. I mean, that at the age of 20 years old. Yeah. Can you take me back? Let's take that calendar back, flip it back to 1985. You're 20 years old. You led the league in wins, strikeouts, and ERA. What was it like going to the ballpark?
It was incredible. And it was great having Gary Carter as my catcher. Gary brought the best of me every night. Between starts, which you very rarely see, the starting catcher come down and catch your bullpen. But he did that with me because he didn't want me to get comfortable with having a little success. He always wanted to find something I can work on to better myself. And it got to the point where I was at the 5 or 6 start. It was almost like, I guess the best way to describe it is almost like being in a concert where you're at the show, the house is packed, everybody's there to see you, and you're aware of that. So obviously going through that whole time in 85, you want to win, you want to keep your team in the game. But also I wanted to dominate. It was no disrespect to the opposing teams, but my goal was to pitch a complete game, pitch a shutout, and get 10-plus strikeouts. When I was playing, I couldn't say I should look up at the K corner, but now that I'm retired, I can say I should always take a pick up there. But it was fun. And now, like, when you see people when they say that, the joy they brought to their homes, and when you're going through something like that, I wasn't really aware of the numbers I was putting up at that time. I just felt like it was something, this is what I was supposed to do. this is what I want to give the fans, even the fans that are watching on TV or listening to on the radio, when I took them out. And between starts, I mean, I worked just as hard because I knew the day that I would pitch, they want, there was more seats filled in the stands, and people wanted to see not just a win, but they wanted to see me dominate, and that's what I wanted to give them. So, and Gary, I mean, there was no coincidence that I had a career with him. Some games, if we had like a 7-0 lead, and if I was throwing balls out of the middle, he would come out there and let me have it because he wanted me to dominate just as bad as the fans wanted to dominate as well.
Most people, again, will be able to review all the numbers, the stats, the this, that, the other, the awards. Let me just remind everybody, 4-time All-Star, 3-time World Series champion. But most people might not remember you threw a no-hitter with the Yankees, yes. 1995 against Seattle. Take me back to that game.
That game, I tell you what, it was very special.
I walked a lot, too.
I had 6 walks.
Yeah.
Yes. And at that time, Seattle had one of the best offenses in baseball. And the thing about it, if I can, I wasn't supposed to pitch that night. A lot of people didn't know. I did in my biography where my dad was very sick.
Right.
He had been on dialysis for 15 years, and then he had this heart disease where he had to have emergency surgery, so they felt that I should fly home to be with him the night before. And I had my plane reservations, flight reservations, but when I got up that morning, something just came across me and I said, you know what, he probably wanted me to pitch. So I called Joe Torre, who was the manager at the time, told him I was coming in to pitch. He tried to talk me out of it. So the first 3 innings of that game, I'm thinking, did I make the right decision? Should I went home? Should I pitch? You get tear-eyed. Mm-hmm. I think it was the 6th inning when I looked up at the scoreboard to see what hitters was coming next, and you see no runs, no hits, no errors. Heart started beating a little faster. The anxiety kicks in. And from that moment, I was able to block everything out, just me and Girardi. And every pitch, it was totally focused. You're taking the deep breaths and going at it. And I remember walking the 2 guys in the 9th inning, and it was a 2-0 game, and Paul Sorrento was coming up with 2 outs. And I'm thinking, a left-handed hitter with a short porch in right field at Yankee Stadium, if I make a mistake, I can not only give the no-hitter, but I can lose. And the worst pitch I threw all game was a hanging curveball right down the middle, and he popped it up. And it seemed like the ball was up there forever. And I remember Wade Boggs and Jeter going for it. And obviously I'm thinking, let Jeter have it. Let Jeter have it. Let Jeter have it. And once he made the catch, my teammates carried me off the field. At that moment, everything you can imagine was going through my mind. Is my dad going to be okay? In 1995, I was suspended from baseball. Here I am, first year back. Early in the year, I was sent to the bullpen. I started 0-3. They talked about relieving me. Doing it here in New York, doing it at Yankee Stadium with all the history that goes there. And the next morning to fly home and give my dad that ball was a tremendous thing because doctor said he saw the game. He ended up passing away, but the last game he saw me pitch was a no-hitter. So to make that much special. It's a
great story. Dwight, you have, I saw you have social media. You're involved with Twitter and Facebook. And again, you have such an incredible message, the things that we have talked about, being a father, being an educator, and giving out a message. Look into the camera and give people your Twitter account or your Facebook or how they can follow what you're doing and continue to get your message.
Yes, you can follow me at Gooden16 on Twitter. I'm getting ready to start my Facebook thing. Actually, my oldest son, Dwight Gooden Jr., who does a lot of my stuff now. He's more like my agent, does that. And also you can follow me at pinktot.org as well for all the charity work I do and with that foundation as well. And, I speak at schools, I speak at colleges, different functions. I'm happy to be here tonight and take part in this and tomorrow as well. So you can find me at Gooden16 if you want me to do anything that's involving kids, especially. That's my passion, or anything to help your charity event.
All right, and remember, you'll catch this interview and all of our interviews all summer long, our Barron's webpage, our Twitter account as well. Doc, the only thing that I can think of, because I see you got a ring here. Thanks a lot for joining us here.
All right, buddy. Thanks for having me.